Happy Camper Radio starts in 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome back once again to the Happy Camper Radio Show, the only place you need to be when you're ready to talk camping. Camping is what we're about. Camping is all we talk about. I'm Skip the Happy Camper, and we are going to make a happy camper out of you. This is episode 97, and we are so glad to have you on board this week. I've got a real interesting show for you. Don't ask me how I thought this one up, but I did. Have you ever been in a situation where the winter weather has you holed up with nowhere to go? The schools are closed, businesses are closed, it's not safe to get out on the roads, and the power goes out. Have you ever been in a situation like that? I have on more occasions than I care to remember. The scary part about it is a lot of folks are just not prepared for that type of winter weather event. But you can make a real fun event out of it by in-home camping. It's not unheard of and not really uncommon, and if you have kids, they will love it. We're going to talk about that today on the show. Our phone number here is 404-537-2267. That's 404-537-CAMP. Very easy to remember. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. And don't forget, you can now find us on YouTube. Subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel. All of our social media icons are very easy to find. Just go to our homepage, www.happycamperradio.com. You'll find them right there on the right-hand side of the page in the sidebar. And just click on any one of those and become a part of the Happy Camper Radio experience. Let's head on over to the shout-out window. A lot of great folks logged on this past week for the first time, and we are happy to have them on board. First of all, let's say hello to Angela Gonzalez of Brooklyn, New York, Helen Connors Groom of Mesa, Arizona, Roadbreakers App in Dallas, Texas, Mark Pacey of Espanola, Ontario, Paul and Kristen, otherwise known as the YesNomads.com, In-Town Campground in Nevada City, California. They all like us on Facebook. Let's say hello to William Bryant, Wayne Dunlap of San Diego, California, Anvil Campground in Williamsburg, Virginia, Golden Coach RV Park in Kronberg, California, Ann Lowry of San Francisco, Chris Mack of New Orleans, Louisiana, and R. Day Hale of the UK. They're following us on Twitter. Finally, to Kara Sorensen, Blue Sea Resort, Nicole Smith of Brandon, Florida, Stephen Summers of West Alexandria, Ohio, Harry Perkins, to the folks at South Florida RV Rentals, and finally to Frank Canna of Williamstown, New Jersey. They added us to circles this past week on Google+. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Glad to have you on board. Welcome to the Happy Camper Radio Show. Hey, would you like to be on our show as a guest? Get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com. That's all you've got to do. I'll get in touch with you. We'll make it happen. Anything in the world of camping is up for discussion. So get in touch with me at your earliest convenience, and we'll be more than happy to have you on the show. You know, the easiest thing for you to do is sign up for a Google Plus account. It's free. It doesn't take long to register. And once you get registered, make sure that you add the Happy Camper Radio Show to your circles. As I said today, we're going to be talking about in-home camping. This past week, and I'll tell you, I'll go ahead and tell you why I thought of this. In Georgia, North Georgia, this past week got hammered again. Not as bad as last year, but it was enough for them to close schools, close businesses, and in some cases, yes, the power went out. And it wasn't out for an extended period of time like it was last year. But here's the problem, folks. A lot of people, when they get in a situation like this, really are totally unprepared. They don't know what to do. And preparation, my friends, is the key. Just like preparing your vehicle for winter, checking the antifreeze, the air in the tires, making sure that you have an emergency kit in case you get stuck somewhere. It's just as important for you to have those preparations in place at home. Now, I'll say this. Unlike last year, people in 2015 paid attention and they stayed home. They stayed off the roads. And I know this because I was out there at the time and there was not that much in the line of traffic on the interstates. That's a good thing. I will also say my hat's off to the politicians, the people who are responsible for making sure everyone is alerted. They did their job this year. Great. Last year, they walked away with egg on their face. In some cases this year, the outages left many people at home in the cold. And some residents, like we say, were just completely unprepared. This is going to be interesting because I know in some parts of the country, folks are saying, what, an inch or two of snow? That's nothing. And, and everybody goes on about their business. Well, folks who have been living in the South for any extended period of time are just not prepared for any type of winter weather event. I can recall, because I've lived down here for about a good 26 years, and I'm originally from the north, so I'm used to about 2 or 3 feet of snow. But last year, we had a winter storm where I was heading into work at 11 o'clock at night, and I didn't arrive until something like 5 o'clock the next morning. And I had a big lunch box that I had packed. I had plenty of drink. I was fine. I was in good shape, and that's a lot more than I can say for a lot of folks who were out on the road. They just weren't ready for it. But prior to that, the last big storm I can recall living here in the metro Atlanta area was the winter of 1993. We had approximately 5 to 6 inches of snow hit the ground. If I remember correctly, it was also the year that I brought my daughter home from the hospital for the first time. So there's a lot of good memories there. And fortunately, we were able to do that before the big snowstorm hit. Prior to that, it was Snow Jam of 1982. And that particular event shut this city down for days. And to make matters worse, back in 1982, there were no such thing as cell phones. Pagers were just a blip on the screen, and who carries a pager today? Nobody that I know of. In any event, here is one thing that I just can't help but to mention this, because some people panic to the point when they hear the S word mentioned, whether on television, radio, or out and about in the streets. They run to the grocery stores. They clean off the bread aisle. They clean off the milk shelf. People clear the shelves of flashlights and batteries. Folks go rushing to the home improvement stores. They buy space heaters. They buy kerosene heaters. They stock up on generators. And sometimes it's only snow flurries in the forecast. But that's what these winter events have done to folks. And I'm glad some people prepared themselves, and hopefully they don't go off and sell their generator to somebody because they are never going to use it. They just thought that, wow, I need this generator for this big winter storm that's coming up that incidentally never occurred. But the fact remains that some people just don't know how to cope with the forecast. Others, they don't know how to drive on snow-covered roads when winter strikes. It happens. I really prefer that if you don't know how to handle your vehicle on slick roads or snow-covered roads, regardless, for your own safety and the safety of your family, you need to stay at home. But as I said, these storms, sometimes they leave people in their homes for several days at a time. What's really bad is when people have no emergency plan in place and the power goes out. They have no way to heat their homes, no way to heat food because they have electrical appliances. If you have gas appliances, well, that's a totally different story. But the truth is they have no emergency plan in place. And because they cannot get out, because it's not safe for them to drive, and they may not have enough money in their pocket to afford a hotel room, they're stuck. And they have nowhere to go. This, my friends, if you're into camping, and I'm sure a lot of you folks are, because you're listening to this program, and especially if you're a longtime listener, then this show is going to be for you, because here is a point that I'm going to make, and you are going to have so much fun with your kids if you are in one of these situations like many folks were this past week here in North Georgia. The kids are home from school. The businesses were closed. A lot of them were. Some people did have to go to work. But I also know that when you have young children and you have a job to get to, and now all of a sudden they've closed schools, and your youngsters who are too young to be left at home by themselves, it now puts you in a position where, one, you've got to find someone to babysit, or you have to call off work that day because you cannot leave your children unattended at home. That's perfectly understandable. Here's where you may want to consider having an in-home camping trip. Now, granted, it's not like camping outdoors, but it can be fun, and the kids will love it. You can do it either in your home or inside of your apartment. You don't think it can be done, and you don't think kids will get into it? Go back and listen to my very first episode about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years now. I don't know how long. It's been a good long time because we've been doing this show every week ever since. But back then, I was sharing with everybody what brought me into the world of camping, and you may know times that your kids have done this when you put them to bed and you think they're going to go to sleep, but they go ahead and maybe they have some friends sleeping over that weekend, and they start tying the bed sheets up to the bedposts, and they create their own little makeshift tent. And what do? They pull their blankets off the bed, they climb underneath that little makeshift tent, and they go to sleep. All right, so they've got the camping spirit in them. Here's where you can take that a step further. When the businesses close and the schools close, think about pulling out your camping equipment and setting it up right there inside the comforts of your very own home. You have some room either in your living room, maybe you have some room in your dining room, but think about an area inside your home where maybe the tent that you have can be set up. Think about this. If you are in your living room and you have got a fireplace, that's the next best thing to being out there. It's the next best thing to camping in an environment where you are going to be away from home, because it kind of adds the elements there. The good news is, with technology being the way it is today, some people, not all, will be allowed to telework, which means they can actually do their work right from home. And wouldn't it be nice if you worked for a company like that, where you don't have to drive in, but you can still get your work done and you can get paid for it while being at home with your kids? And you can make this a fun event. Setting up your tent in the living room does not mean staking it down, all right? So you're not going to bring out your hammers or your tent stakes or anything like that. But like I say, the fireplace can add a more cozy environment. Definitely, because the winter weather is there, you're going to want to bring out the sleeping bags. If the power goes out, you're going to want to provide enough warmth for everybody. Now, here's something you don't want to do. Never bring propane or gas lanterns inside your home. Now, if you have battery-operated ones, that's great. You can use those. And they make a lot of good battery-modeled lanterns today. They look just like the gasoline, or not the gasoline, but the gas-powered lanterns. If you do have some of those dual fuel lanterns that work either off unleaded gasoline or the white gas or Coleman fuel, that's great. But those really are not designed for indoor use. But if you want to go ahead and buy, if you're looking for a new lantern anytime soon, you may want to consider those battery-operated ones, and those are perfectly safe to be used indoors. Parents, yes, you may not be up for the camping experience, but you're going to find out that your kids are all for it, and no doubt it's going to be exciting to them. Here's something else you want to do. Remember to take a lot of pictures, and you can do that too, because you're going to want to have some memories of your indoor camping event. Here's the thing, folks. You want to prepare for winter's worst, regardless of what year it is. 2 years in a row here in Georgia is a little strange. Now, I don't want anybody calling me up and say, yeah, global warming, that's it. No, all right? Yeah, winter weather can strike anywhere, whether it be here in Georgia or out in Arkansas or Look at the folks up in New England right now, still getting hammered, still digging out of the snow, and they're probably laughing because I'm talking about a couple inches of snow that shut down the whole city. But that's the way things are here in the Southeast. But who's to say that winter weather is not going to strike again next year? We just don't know. But you can be prepared ahead of time. Be prepared also when the power goes out. Just because they've closed schools, because they've closed businesses, does not mean that a tree is going to come down on a power line somewhere and knock power out to your residence for several hours and in some cases several days, depending upon how busy the electrical workers are, or the power guys, the linemen, we call them that down here. They may be out there for hours trying to go ahead and get the power restored to your home. So you've got to be prepared. Preparation is the key. Here's something else you want to be concerned about too. And we don't want to talk about this, but the fact remains things like this can happen. When the power goes out, you've got to be concerned about your refrigerated or frozen food that may spoil. It's always a good idea to keep a good supply of dry goods handy, as well as bottled water. Keep them on hand in the event something happens, and don't wait till the last minute, folks. Don't wait to run to the grocery store and think there's going to be a loaf of bread on the shelf because it's probably going to be gone. This happens every single year. Anytime the word snow is mentioned, that's the first aisle that everybody runs to, the milk and the bread aisles. So have some dry goods in place, and if you by chance do have an electric range inside your home, that range is not going to do you any good if the power goes out. Keeping warm is first and foremost. Make sure that if you have a fireplace, you have a good supply of firewood. It's always a good time to have your fireplace inspected just before the winter weather gets there. Have a professional come out and check it. Do you have a kerosene heater? Kerosene heaters are great. They will keep you warm. I remember living up north. The power went out. We brought out the kerosene heater. Everybody gathered together in the living room, and we were as comfortable as we possibly could be. Ventilation is the key, folks. You got to make sure you have ventilation. Where I live right now, the home that I'm living in, I can say this much. It is not as tight as a drum. We do have problems with the winter weather elements coming inside. Maybe if I go down and caulk the windows a little bit more, we might have that problem corrected. So I really don't have a ventilation problem, but it's something you definitely need to keep in mind. And if that even means just cracking the window just enough to provide some ventilation, then you can go ahead and do that. But the best thing for you to do is read the instruction on your kerosene heater or any type of heater that you're using to make sure that you're in compliance and you are going to be perfectly safe. Space heaters serve no purpose at all when the power goes out. Here's something else I want you to do too. Avoid using camp heaters, the type that you will use inside your tent. They're not designed for indoor use. And something else you should refrain from doing too, and that's lighting your gas burners and opening up your oven for the purposes of heating your living environment. Some people do this in desperation. They have no other options. But it's something you should not do, and it's definitely not safe. Break out the extra blankets, put on an additional layer or two of clothing. That is the best thing you can do when you are stuck in a situation like that. Also, let's talk about generators here for a moment. I have some information on our website at happycamperradio.com. Just go over to the links section. It's under Skip's Corner. And definitely click on that and find out what you need to know about the safety use of generators. One thing you don't ever want to do is use a generator inside your home, your garage, or your basement. They are designed to be placed outside, away from the home. And if you read all that information that we have available to you on happycamperradio.com, you can't go wrong. But again, every generator is going to come with instructions. You need to follow those instructions to the letter. Don't get yourself in a bad situation. Keep them running outdoors and away from your home, like we say. And remember, you're going to have enough fuel for your generator because eventually that is going to run out. I have a generator here at home. In fact, I need to power it up maybe once every 3 months, just get it running to make sure that it is running in the event something goes wrong. And I always make sure that I have plenty of fuel on hand. And it runs off unleaded gasoline. I think it holds 5 gallons, should I say, and that will last me a good long time. I'm always going to have some spare gasoline around the house because I do have a yard that needs mowed, and I always keep some spare gas on hand for the lawnmower. So if I need that for my generator, I will have it handy. You're not going to want to run out on the roads if the roads are slick and you're worried about getting stuck. Again, preparation is the key. Let's talk about indoor cooking. If you have gas appliances that are functioning during an outage, you're going to be fine. You may not have the light that you need inside your kitchen. And again, that's where flashlights will come in handy. That's where some of these battery-operated lanterns will help you out. You may want to consider using your camp stoves. I have done this before. When the power had gone out, back at my old residence that I lived at several years ago, I would break out my camping stoves and I would set them up on my workbench in the garage where I had more than enough ventilation. And that's where we prepared our food. And it worked out so well. Cooking in the garage, and you can always cook on the patio too. If you have a barbecue grill, you can step outside and cook your food there. But again, refer to the operating manual for safety. Here's something you might want to consider, and I know you've heard me talk about this before. I have 2 butane stoves that are very portable, and I carry them with me each and every camping trip. Yes, I do miss the big Coleman stove, and I bought one of the very first 3-burner stoves that run off unleaded gasoline about 20 years ago. I still have it in the garage, and I do kind of miss that when I go camping, but I am hooked on these little butane stoves that carry the butane canisters. They look like a hairspray can almost, and I usually carry about 10 or 15 of those in my camping supply box. They will come in extremely handy in the event you have a power outage and you have no other way to prepare hot food. You can break those out and you get roughly, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 good meals out of each canister of butane. I've mentioned also before that the butane canisters, you just can't buy them anywhere. You can't walk into your local hardware store or your big box store that you go to buy just about anything else, say like your Walmart stores. You just can't go in there and find them in all cases. You may have to go to a specialty store. You may have to go to your camping supply store, and there's plenty of those big box stores around too. So, there's places you can buy them, and when you do find them, you got to make sure you stock up on them. So I always carry a good supply with me. And again, I use them mainly for camping purposes, but they come in very handy in a situation where you're going to have a power outage and you're going to be at home. You may be at home for several days without any power. These are going to be great stoves to prepare your hot food. So, there you have it, folks. There's a lot of great ways that you could prepare for a winter storm, you and your family, and be safe and have fun doing it. I'm not saying that you're going to have a lot of good experiences doing this. You probably are going to be much better off in the outdoors in the summertime or the springtime or even fall. That's the place you want to be. But if you have camping equipment there at home, and you want to make a very fun experience out of a bad situation, start thinking about camping and setting up inside the home. The kids will love to go inside the tent. They'll probably bring their food in there and eat their food in an environment like that because, it's going to be so much fun. Yes, they're going to be without the video games. They're not going to have television. They're not going to have their favorite cartoons to watch. But you can make it a fun event for your family, for your children. And another thing too, folks, a couple other things I do want to mention too. Anytime that you have a situation where you've got pets outside, you're going to want to bring them indoors. Do not let your pets outside. Do not expose them to the very cold elements. Bring them on indoors. And also another thing, since we do live in an age where we have cell phones, not too many people have landlines anymore. I don't know a whole lot. But if you do have a cell phone and the power goes out, make sure that you have a battery charger inside your vehicle and you should be keeping it in there 24/7. When you're out on the road, when you're away from home, and you need a way to charge your battery on your cell phone, that would be the place to do it. If the power goes out and you have no way of charging it inside your home, take your phone outside, put it on the charger for a couple hours, because you still have a way of communicating with the authorities if something bad happens and you need to call 911, or you need to stay in touch with other people, other loved ones who may be concerned about you. That would be the way to do it. You don't want to be living your life with a dead cell phone in a power outage situation, regardless if it's just for a couple hours or for a couple days. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. I found a campground that is going to top my list of places to go in the event I get out of Georgia anytime soon and decide to head west. I'm going to take you this week to the state of Arkansas, to the Blanchard Springs Recreation Area, a campground that is open year-round. And folks, there is a lot of things to see or do. If you want to visit Blanchard Springs Recreation Area, it's part of the Ozark National Forest, and it is known for the beautiful rolling hills, hidden caverns, waterfalls, clear flowing streams. Wow, they have got it all out there, folks. And I've got to say this too. If you like trout fishing, you're going to want to visit Mirror Lake. This campground offers a variety of campsites to accommodate all types of visitors, groups. They have single campsites. Every one of them are equipped with tables, grills, campfire rings, and check out the photographs that we have on their website, and you can find a link to it on our homepage under the featured campground button. I'll have it there all week long. The picnic shelters also have grills, ample picnic tables for groups, flush toilet, drinking water is provided, and they have a long list of amenities here on the website for you to take a look at. A little bit more for me to go into detail right now. But again, it's going to be there for you all week long. And something else for you too, folks. Know this before you go. They have flash flooding that may occur in the area, so take extra precautions if you're going to go out there and visit. Also, remember, folks, do not move firewood. Purchase your firewood locally. It's a great campsite, a great camping destination. Anytime you want to go out to Arkansas, this is the place to visit. It's the Blanchard Springs Recreation Area. It's open all year long, and it is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And as always, my friends, if you have a campground that you would like for us to feature on the program, by all means, get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com. Make sure that you include a link to the campground website. If you've been there, if you've seen it, if you love it, you know chances are a lot of us are going to want to see it too. Well, folks, that's about going to wrap it up for this edition of the Happy Camper Radio Show. I am so glad that you were able to join us. And in just a few weeks, we are going to be on our 100th episode, and I have a very special show that you are not going to want to miss. So stick around for that. And for all of you who have been with us for all these years, you know, hey, I'm just so delighted to have you. You feel like family to me here at Happy Camper Radio. Hey, don't forget, you can catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, add us to Circles on Google+, and now subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip, I am a happy camper, and no question about it, my friends, we are going to make a happy camper out of you. We'll catch you next week. This is Happy Camper Radio.